Someone in your neighborhood is signing a contract right now for a pool feature that's going to cost them years of frustration and thousands of dollars in fixes. Not because they didn't do their research, they did. They watched the videos, read the reviews, visited the showroom. They made what felt like an informed decision, and they still got it completely wrong. I've worked on pool builds and redesigns for over a decade, and the calls I get most often aren't from people who skipped the planning. They're from people who planned carefully, spent real money, and ended up with something they wish they could undo. The regret on this list isn't about cheap shortcuts. It's about expensive mistakes that looked like smart decisions right up until the moment they didn't. We're counting down all 10. And I'll tell you right now, number 1 is something pools are being sold with as a premium upgrade at this exact moment. The sales pitch is convincing. The reality is not. Don't make any decisions before you get there. Number 10, decorative water features attached to the pool shell. Every pool designer will show you renderings with waterfalls, scalloped grottos, natural-looking boulder falls, elegant laminar jets arcing perfectly into the water. In the rendering, it looks incredible. In real life, after 3 seasons, it looks like the thing you spend the most time cleaning and the least time enjoying. Here's what most people don't understand before they sign off on an attached water feature. The water going over any surface that's exposed to air and sunlight is doing something constantly. It's growing algae, not occasionally, not seasonally, constantly. The nooks and crannies in a decorative grotto or a boulder waterfall are impossible to brush and impossible to pressure wash without risking damage to the structure. They become the part of your pool that looks worst all year round and the part that drives the most algae into the main pool water. There's also a structural reality most installers gloss over. A water feature attached directly to the pool shell is part of the shell when it moves, and everything moves with soil shifts, freeze-thaw cycles, and settlement. It moves relative to the pool it's attached to. That differential movement creates cracks. Cracks in a water feature mean leaks. Leaks in a structure attached to your pool shell are not a simple repair. The version of this feature that actually works long-term is a freestanding pondless water feature positioned near the pool deck, not attached to it. Same visual, same sound, completely independent structure. And when something goes wrong with it, which it will, you're not looking at a repair that involves your pool shell. The next feature is one of the most commonly upsold additions in residential pool design right now, and almost nobody asks the right question before saying yes. Number 9. Salt chlorine generators on pools with the wrong surfaces. Salt systems are sold as the low-maintenance, skin-friendly, natural alternative to traditional chlorine. The pitch lands well because most of it is true. The water does feel softer. The ongoing chemical cost is lower. The chlorine levels are more stable. For the right pool, a salt system is genuinely excellent. Here's the part that gets left out of the showroom conversation. Salt is corrosive. Not aggressively, not immediately, but consistently and over time. And what it corrodes depends entirely on what your pool is made of and what's around it. Certain types of stone coping, travertine especially, are highly reactive to salt water splashing repeatedly over them. The surface deteriorates. It starts to pit and flake within a few years. That coping is expensive to replace and impossible to patch in a way that looks good. Certain pool finishes, particularly exposed aggregate finishes with calcium-based materials, also react over time in ways that accelerate surface erosion. Certain decorative concrete decking can show salt damage within 5 years. Then there are the metal components. Any metal fitting, ladder, handrail, or fixture that's constantly in contact with salt water needs to be marine grade. Many standard pool components aren't. You'll know within a couple of seasons the discoloration shows up first, then the pitting, then the structural compromise. A salt system on a pool designed for it from the beginning with the right surface finish, the right coping material, and marine-grade hardware throughout is a great choice. A salt system retrofitted onto an existing pool without checking material compatibility is an expensive gamble. Before you say yes to the upgrade, ask your contractor specifically, is every surface and every fitting in contact with this water compatible with long-term salt exposure? Get that answer in writing. Number 8. Glass tile. As the primary pool surface, glass tile pools look extraordinary in photographs. That deep, luminous color, the way the light catches the surface, the seamless, jewel-like finish, It's the most photographed pool finish in residential design, and one of the most regretted. Here's the practical reality. Glass tile is a material that lives in an extremely hostile environment. It expands and contracts with temperature changes. The grout between tiles does the same, at a different rate. Over time, that differential movement causes grout cracking. And cracked grout in a pool surface is not a cosmetic problem. It's a pathway for water to get behind the tiles, freeze in cold climates, and pop tiles off the shell. A glass tile regrout, or tile repair, is not like regrouting a bathroom. You're working in a water environment, under water pressure, on a curved surface, with specialty materials that need to match existing tile. It's expensive labor, expensive materials, and the result almost never looks exactly the same as the original. You can always tell where the repair was. The other issue is cleaning. Glass tile shows mineral deposits and calcium scaling more visibly than any other pool finish. In areas with hard water, you'll be cleaning the water line every few weeks to keep it from looking neglected. That line between the water surface and the air is where scaling happens. On glass tile, it shows immediately. For a pool, you want to look great in year 10, not just in the photos taken the week it was finished. Plaster-based finishes and quality aggregate finishes hold up far better and look better longer with normal maintenance. Number 7. Infinity edges on pools without the right site conditions. There is no pool feature that photographs better than an infinity edge. The water disappearing over the horizon, the visual merger of the pool surface with the sky or the landscape beyond it. It's one of the most dramatic things you can do with a pool. It's also one of the most technically demanding. And when the site conditions aren't right for it, it becomes a beautiful-looking feature that causes problems for the life of the pool. An infinity edge works because the water overflows the edge into a catch basin below and is then pumped back up into the main pool. That catch basin needs to be sized precisely relative to the volume of water in the pool and the surface area of the edge. Get that calculation wrong, and one of two things happens. Either the catch basin overflows during heavy use, flooding the area below the pool, or the catch basin runs dry, the pump pulls air, and the pump is damaged. There's also the sightline problem most people don't realize until it's too late. An infinity edge is designed to create the illusion that the water extends to the horizon. That illusion works only from inside the pool or from specific viewing positions. From most other angles, from the yard, from most seating areas, from the inside of the house looking out, you're looking at the mechanical edge, the catch basin, and the support structure. It doesn't look like a vanishing edge from those positions. It looks like construction. Site conditions matter enormously. A property with a natural grade drop in the right direction, the right viewing angles, and the right landscape beyond the edge can make an infinity pool look genuinely spectacular from the positions that matter. A flat suburban lot with an infinity edge is one of the most expensive things to get wrong in residential pool design. Number 6. Automated pool covers with complex track systems. Motorized pool covers are a genuinely good idea. They reduce evaporation, retain heat, keep debris out, and when they're installed on the right pool with the right system, they're one of the features homeowners use the most and appreciate the most. The problem is the track system. A track-based automated cover runs on rails recessed into the pool deck on both sides of the pool. The mechanism is elegant when it's new. After a few years, leaves, debris, calcium deposits, and algae find their way into the track. The cover starts to bind. The motor works harder. The fabric catches and drags instead of sliding smoothly. You end up manually clearing the track before every operation, which defeats most of the convenience argument for the cover in the first place. The other failure point is the fabric-to-track seal. When that seal is compromised, and it will be, especially with significant temperature variation, the cover no longer provides the energy retention it was specified for. You're still using it, still maintaining it, but it's delivering a fraction of the performance you paid for. Covers retrofitted onto existing pools have an additional issue. The track system has to be integrated into the existing deck, which usually means cutting and patching, and that patch is always visible. The covers that hold up best are either manual safety covers with anchor points around the perimeter, or reel-based systems that don't rely on embedded track. They're less elegant mechanically, but they're far more reliable over the life of the pool. Number 4. Fiberglass pools installed in problem soils. Fiberglass pools have real advantages. The surface is non-porous, so algae gets far less purchase than on plaster. Installation is faster than a concrete build. The flexibility of the material handles minor soil movement well. That last advantage has a limit that most fiberglass installers won't volunteer. Fiberglass pools are flexible. They handle the minor, relatively uniform soil movement of well-draining, stable soils without problem. What they cannot handle is significant differential soil movement, the kind that happens in expansive clay soils, in soils with high water table fluctuation, or in areas with active settling. When one side of a fiberglass shell moves significantly relative to another, and these things do happen in the wrong soil conditions, you get a problem that cannot be repaired. You don't fix a structurally distorted fiberglass shell, you remove it. Removal and replacement of a fiberglass pool in problem soils is one of the most expensive things that can happen to a homeowner. You're looking at excavation, shell removal, soil remediation, backfill, and a new installation. The total cost frequently exceeds the original installation cost significantly. A soil test before any in-ground pool installation is not optional. It's the piece of information that determines whether fiberglass is even appropriate for your site. Many installers won't do this automatically. Ask for it explicitly. Ask for the results in writing. Ask for the installer to state in the contract that the soil conditions are appropriate for the installation type. If they won't do that, take it as information. Number 3, LED color-changing lighting systems. Color-changing LED pool lighting is one of the most popular upgrades in residential pool packages right now. The demonstration in the showroom is genuinely impressive. Colors cycling through the spectrum, the pool glowing electric blue, then purple, then green. It looks like a resort. Here's what it looks like by the 3rd year. The color-changing function requires more complex electronics than a standard LED fixture. More complexity means more failure points. The most common failure isn't total light failure. It's partial failure where one color channel stops responding. Your pool lights are now stuck on whatever combination of remaining channels the fixture produces. Not the deep saturated blue you chose. Not the atmospheric white you run it on most nights. Something in between that you can't adjust and can't fix without replacing the fixture. Replacing an underwater LED fixture isn't like changing a light bulb. It involves draining the pool to the niche level, removing the old fixture and its niche, and installing a new one. If the niche itself is corroded or the conduit has taken on water, the repair gets more complicated and significantly more expensive. Beyond the mechanical failure rate, there's the practical reality of how color-changing lighting actually gets used. Most homeowners who install it run it on one color, almost always warm white or a steady blue. The color cycling feature gets used for parties and novelty. Within 6 months, the remote is in a drawer and the lights run on the same setting every evening. A high-quality fixed color, LED in a warm white or a single, well-chosen blue, is more reliable, requires less maintenance, and produces the same result 95% of the time. The feature you're paying extra for is the feature you'll use the least. Number 2, concrete pool decking without proper expansion joints. Pool decking is one of those things homeowners almost never think about as a long-term decision. The pool is the decision. The deck is just what goes around it. And that attitude is why it's one of the most common sources of expensive repair calls. Concrete expands in heat and contracts in cold. A pool deck is a large, continuous concrete surface that's doing this every day, year after year. Without properly spaced expansion joints, the deliberate breaks in the concrete that allow for that movement, the concrete finds its own places to crack, and it always does. The only question is where. The problem with cracking in pool decking isn't just cosmetic, though the cosmetic impact is significant. Cracks in decking adjacent to a pool shell create pathways for water infiltration. Water under a pool deck undermines the compacted subbase. Once the subbase starts to shift and settle unevenly, the deck surface becomes uneven. Uneven decking is a trip hazard and a liability issue, especially in a pool environment where wet feet and inattentive movement are constant. Repairing a settled, cracked concrete pool deck is not a small job. You're looking at saw cutting, removal, subbase recompaction, and new concrete poured to match existing, which never matches perfectly. You can always tell the fix at installation is simple and costs almost nothing relative to the total project. Proper joint placement, correct joint width, appropriate control, joint depth, and in climates with significant freeze-thaw exposure, appropriate air entrainment in the concrete mix. These are not complicated specifications, they're basic ones. Ask your contractor about the joint plan before the concrete is poured.